On today's video, we look at one of the most iconic movie walkie-talkies ever made, which featured in the original Ghostbusters movie made way back in 1984. Now, in this movie, which I hopefully don't need to really explain to you, the team of Ghostbusters attend one of their first jobs at a hotel to clean up a few malevolent spirits that have been causing havoc. The radios are first seen in the lobby of the hotel, attached to the waist of our spook-fighting trio via a suitably robust pouch. The radios in question were genuine off-the-shelf radios made by Motorola. Two different models in fact. The character Egon and Venkman are seen using the Motorola MT500, however the character Ray is seen using the older HD220 radio. On today's video we're going to look at the MT500 radio. The radio was getting on in years at the time that our ghost-busting trio got into business, having first been introduced in February of 1977. It was the follow-on radio from the HD220 and was capable of using many of the HD220's accessories such as speaker mics and chargers. They produced 4 different physical versions of the MT500, but there were many options available, as we shall see. There was the slimline version, very often called the basic version, and the Omni version. The Omni version was physically bigger, thicker, and had the speaker mic adapter on the side and could carry a larger battery pack. They offered both of these variants in short and long versions to suit the different modules, so hence the 4 versions. The longer versions were specified when greater battery capacity and or RF power levels were required. It was the Omni short version that was apparently used for 2 of the 3 prop radios in the movie. The radio was actually available on a very wide band of frequencies, presumably to suit security and law enforcement agencies around the world. This ranged from 25 MHz right up to 512 MHz. They made many customised versions of the radio denoted by the suffix Z in the part number. There were also optional boards that could be added in, such as paging decoders, PL squelch boards, DTMF rear and front mounted keypads, timeout timers, tone boards, selective call, scanner boards and extra channels of course. The radio could support a maximum of 8 channels in total, quite something for a radio in 1977. The radio as standard would feature an on-off volume control, a channel selector, a squelch control and a squelch dropout monitor lever switch. On the slim version of the radio, the top panel will also feature an external speaker jack and an external antenna jack, with the BBU series variants having the connector on the side. The radio was powered by 12.7 volt NiCad batteries, and the company quoted a typical battery life of approximately 8 hours for the short version or 14 hours for the long version at 80% duty cycle. They also did a pack using mercury cells that could offer 30 hours at 90% duty cycle. The company also offered a 16-hour slow charger and a 1-hour rapid charger. There were in fact 6 variants of charger to suit the size and type of radio, as well as multiple unit chargers and in-vehicle chargers. The radio was also backwards compatible with the HT220 series chargers and accessories, reducing the overall cost of an MT500 upgrade to the owner-operator. As you can see in the movie, the radio was quite a big unit, with the Omni short version measuring at 177 by 69 by 47 mm and weighing in at a hefty 760 grams.
That's a big Twinkie.
If using the mercury battery, of course. The extended version would crash in at 777 grams, and I am pretty sure this would go up with the additional boards. I imagine with the holster this would have been fairly noticeable to the operator on the waistband, when you consider a much more modern recent richly spec radio weighs in on average at 200 grams or less. Maybe this is why we only see the radios on the belts of the actors in the first part of the movie, although, as is often the case, heavy electronics are often removed from props to enable the actors to perform physical scenes. For studio comms reasons and general actor health and safety, they are also removed. In fact, in some movies, rubber versions of the props are often made. In many films, when you see your hero rolling with a gun, it is in fact very often made of rubber. A bewildering variance of model numbers could actually be specified here, such that the radios could be tailored to suit operating conditions and local restrictions. You rarely see this practice these days because this is mostly controlled in software. This must have been quite a logistical challenge for the company at the time. The MT500 radio was an FM radio and was essentially described as a VHF or UHF radio and was mainly produced as such in those two variants. It was also possible in different colours as well, including both red and yellow, presumably to suit emergency service operators at the time. Ghostbusters is a very popular movie still, and when I say Ghostbusters I don't mean the reboot movie, as the less said about that the better. This had led to the radios being very popular and collectible. As you would expect, cosplay fans and other fans of the movie, just general fans, snapped up the units to strap to their belts for that authentic movie look. Although you could technically argue as to why. Because the characters in the movie only support the radios on their belts for just a few short minutes. In fact, when the team re-enter the hotel for the exciting climax to the film as a squad of 4, you would think that they would be hooked up with the radios, but alas no, the script wasn't going to require the team to be split up. One of the unique features of the radio shown in the movie, for me at least, is the stubby antenna. A very unusual design, and due to its length you would think this would have been a UHF variant. One assumes, although the radios were originally sold with telescopic antennas, but they did offer their Heliflex range of antennas across all bands. It's thought that the antenna shown in the movie is the HPA-52 Heavy Duty Stubby, which was made by the company, the Antenna Specialist Co. Most cosplayers make their own or adapt other antennas because, as you can imagine, these are now almost impossible to get hold of. The radios themselves are actually fairly easy to come by and don't command massive sums of money, unlike some of the popular walkies that we have seen more recently in Back to the Future or the Die Hard movies. I think that this is in part because so many of the sets were manufactured and distributed widely in such a great volume, and at the end of service life the radios were offered cheap on the market rather than being crushed, as was often the case and sadly was with the iconic Pi PF8. More recently, the clamour for the original radio was tempered slightly by the release of the Spirit Halloween Ghostbusters replica Walkie Talkie. A nearly life-sized replica of the original radio, complete with carrying pouch and sound effects. The unit is not a functioning walkie-talkie though, and while similar to the MT500, it does, for obvious reasons, not carry the Motorola branding. However, it is licensed by Columbia Pictures as it carries audio clips from the movie and trademarks. And fans also tend to modify the radios by adding Motorola stickers, additional sound modules, and sanding and painting the radio and covering up that ghastly ghost on the pouch in order to make the radios look more screen accurate. Although at $40 to $50 you can actually get the original radio. However, I, of all people, can obviously see the attraction in a non-functioning, lightweight toy that plays clips from the movie as an alternative. Especially when you consider modifying an original radio isn't a job for everyone. Toy walkie-talkies were released at the time of the movie's release, however they bear no resemblance to the MT500. It is also possible, of course, to 3D print a version of this radio, as its simple design is very easy to replicate and there are many 3D models available to freely print. I hope that you have enjoyed this look at the MT500. I have ordered an original radio from the States which should arrive in the next few weeks. I will need to make up a battery pack and source or make an antenna for it. Hopefully I can get it working and we can take it out for a quick test. If you have been, thanks ever so much for watching and stay safe.